Hey y'all, it's me, Dree. So today's emotional progression starts with abundance and then it moves to exhaustion and it ends with panic. So there's something really interesting about the progression between abundance and exhaustion because these almost feel like opposites, don't they? Abundance suggests that y'all recognize what is available to y'all. Exhaustion, well, that suggests that something has been running for so long that y'all are simply tired of carrying it. And then I'm getting with panic. This must be the emotional tone that sets over the field. Once the collective understands that they have what they need and that they are no longer going to carry something in the same way. Now let's get into this message. We're starting with this emotional undertone of abundance. And I have the Eight of Cups, the autumnal equinox. I have the Six of Wands. So I think the first thing we need to understand is what abundance is actually telling y'all, because this is not what people initially think. Abundance is about recognizing that there are resources available to y'all. It is the understanding that y'all have access to unlimited support and that y'all's needs can be met in more than one way. And also that y'all do not have to operate as though one person, one relationship, one opportunity, or even one particular outcome is the only thing available to y'all. Because the universe, that provides. All that abundance asks is that you make space. And the very first card under abundance is this Eight of Cups. Releasing what does not serve you. Time to move on. Emotionally unfulfilled. So, y'all are beginning this message from a very different position than y'all may have been occupying in the past. Because y'all are walking away. But I'm getting y'all are not walking away because y'all believe there's nothing there. I'm getting y'all are walking away because y'all understand that y'all do not have to remain attached to something simply because y'all invested your emotion into it. Y'all recognize that something has become emotionally unfulfilling. And because y'all are beginning to understand abundance differently, this walking away, that no longer has to mean loss, does it? Because sometimes walking away is what allows us to finally recognize how much is still available to us and how much will be provided for us. Once the space for it is simply created. That is faith and abundance, really, isn't it? Y'all may not know exactly what comes next. Y'all may not know what fills the space. But I'm getting that y'all are becoming willing to trust that releasing something emotionally unfulfilling, that does not mean y'all are going to be left with nothing. Because the universe, it provides, doesn't it? And that means y'all are now creating room. Then we move to the autumnal equinox. This is prepare for change, harvest, gratitude. I'm getting here that this is where good things are being prepared to come into the frame now. Because y'all did what y'all were supposed to do. Y'all released what was emotionally unfulfilling. This is a timing card, and this is just doubling back that abundance, saying that the universe has put it into motion. And with a harvest, I only imagine so yeah, y'all created this space. Y'all stopped trying to hold on to something simply because y'all could not see what it would. And this autumnal equinox, this is harvest energy. So I'm getting something is beginning to come into frame because the collective made room for it. And that takes us directly into the Six of Wands, which is about victory, recognition, pride of achievement. It also says milestone, and I think that one is probably one of the most important words in this entire column here. Because the victory, that may not be that y'all finally got the thing y'all originally wanted. The victory here may be that y'all finally know when to leave something that is not emotionally serving y'all. That is a milestone, isn't it? Especially if y'all have historically stayed inside of situations trying to understand them, trying to fix them, trying to wait for clarity, trying to determine whether something could eventually become what y'all hoped it would be. But this time, y'all are recognizing, y'all are understanding that y'all have other options. Y'all have other resources. And y'all have unlimited support. There are other ways y'all's needs can be met, isn't there? And because y'all are understanding all of this, y'all do not have to remain inside something that is not serving y'all anymore. That is abundance. And the reason y'all are finally willing to do this, well, I'm getting that's because the collective has become utterly exhausted with the terrain y'all have been traveling. And under this emotional tone of exhaustion, I have the Three of Swords, the Six of Cups reversed, the Ten of Cups reversed. So I'm getting with this Three of Swords here, this card is really speaking to me about disillusionment right now. Because I'm getting y'all are tired of being disillusioned. Y'all y'all are tired of getting far enough into an experience to discover that something is not what it initially appeared to be. And more importantly, y'all are exhausted because this does not feel like a brand new problem. This feels like the same pattern running over and over and over again. Different circumstances, different people, different environments, but somehow y'all keep arriving at the same damn realization. Something here is not what y'all thought it was. And that is exhausting. And then we move directly into this Six of Cups reverse. This is about remembering the past, revisiting the past, and nostalgia. So I'm getting this is where y'all begin recognizing the familiarity of this pattern. Because y'all have seen this before. Maybe not with this exact person. Maybe not in this exact environment. But emotionally and relationally, y'all know this story very well, don't you? And I think that's the part that makes this disillusionment so exhausting. Because there is a moment where y'all look at the experience and you think, how are we here again? How did we arrive at another version of something we already thought we learned? And how many times do we have to recognize this before we finally stop encountering it? And then the second column ends with this Ten of Cups reverse. This is about inauthentic relationships, disconnection, false sense of security. And I'm getting that this gets right to the center of what this repeating pattern has actually been doing to y'all. Because these are not simply relationships that fail. No. These are all inauthentic relationships and relational dynamics that directly affect y'all's sense of security. Something appears to offer connection, and it may appear emotionally promising. I'm getting it may initially feel safe to y'all. And it may even create the impression that something stable could eventually be built. But then, every time y'all discover that the relationship itself is not authentic enough to sustain that sense of security. And that is where the real exhaustion is coming from. Y'all keep finding yourselves inside of relational experiences where what is presented and what is actually available are not even close to the same thing. I'm getting. And I'm also getting that every single time this happens, y'all have to take time to yourselves to recalibrate. Y'all have to figure out what was real and what was not real, what was misunderstood, what somebody else failed to communicate, and what y'all should do next. And eventually y'all just get tired, don't you? Tired of having to keep finding y'all's footing inside of dynamics that should have been more straightforward from the beginning. And I think that's exactly why this 8 of Cups that we started with matters so much, because it looks like y'all are finally doing something different. Y'all are not just walking away from one person. Y'all are not just walking away from one situation. Y'all may be walking away from this entire relational pattern. If a relationship requires y'all to sacrifice y'all's sense of security just to remain inside of it, y'all understand that y'all do not need to keep participating. And if something is fundamentally inauthentic, y'all understand that you do not have to wait until it becomes authentic. And if somebody cannot offer clarity, consistency, reciprocity, or even basic emotional safety, then y'all understand that you do not have to stand inside ambiguity, hoping eventually they will offer it. Y'all are understanding now that y'all can lead. And that really matters, because, little lesson, patterns, those require participation. You see, a pattern can keep presenting itself. But if y'all stop responding to it in the same way, well, then that pattern can no longer continue in exactly the same form. And I really think that is what we are watching happening here. Because y'all stop participating. And now the pattern itself, that has to shift. And that brings us right into this last and final column with this emotional undertone of panic. And under panic, we finish with the Emperor, the 5 of Wands, the Queen of Wands. So this is where the energy changes, because panic does not feel like it belongs to the collective. Y'all do not look panicked in any part of this spread. Y'all look like y'all are walking away. Y'all look like y'all are preparing for change. Y'all look like you are reaching a milestone. You look like you're exhausted and disillusioned. But y'all also look very aware of what y'all are seeing, don't you? So this panic, that feels like it belongs to somebody else. And directly underneath it is our first suspect. We have the Emperor. This is about authority, stability. This is somebody who is action-oriented and powerful. This I'm getting is somebody who is used to having the power and the control about how things go. This looks like somebody who likes to determine the structure. But right underneath that, we have the 5 of Wands. And this is about opposition, competition, a lost opportunity. And I think the two important words on this card are misunderstanding and lost opportunity, because this Emperor he may genuinely feel misunderstood. He may be looking at what happened and realizing that what he intended and what y'all actually experienced were not the same thing. He may even feel like the situation got away from him. He may feel like the conflict, the chaos, the lack of clarity created an impression that he did not mean to create. But y'all responded to the experience y'all were actually having, didn't you? And, well, if that experience felt confusing, unstable, competitive, inauthentic, or disruptive to y'all's sense of security, then eventually y'all had to make a decision based on that reality, didn't you? And now I'm getting this emperor may be confronting something he did not anticipate because y'all actually walked away. And with this Five of Wands, carrying lost opportunity, I think the reality of that missed opportunity might be starting to set in, because then this whole message ends with the Queen of Wands. This is confident, courageous, strong, visionary. And I think this Queen of Wands is the collective. This is what the Emperor is looking at now. Not a collective sitting around waiting for him to figure out what he wants. This is not a collective that's competing. This is not a collective trying to prove they deserve the connection. And this is not a collective waiting inside an unstable dynamic for somebody else to make it safe for them. This Emperor is looking at y'all continuing to move. He's looking at y'all reclaiming y'all's confidence. Y'all standing in y'all's strength. And y'all becoming increasingly comfortable saying, if this does not work for me, I will leave. And you guys, that changes the entire structure of the pattern, doesn't it? Because when y'all change the way y'all participate, everybody else involved has to respond to the new version that you're presenting. The old dynamic cannot simply resume. The old relational structure cannot keep running exactly the same way. So y'all are no longer playing the role required to keep that pattern alive. And I think that may be where the panic comes from. Because I'm getting this Emperor, he may very well have believed that there would be more time, more room, maybe another conversation or another opportunity to correct the misunderstanding, maybe another chance to explain himself. But this Five of Wands says it clearly. Lost opportunity. And sometimes the realization that y'all were misunderstood does not arrive until after y'all have already decided that y'all are no longer willing to stay inside the confusion, and that it changes everything. Because now the question is not whether the old dynamic can continue, because we just saw it cannot. The collective changed their participation. So now the pattern has to change too. And I think that is really what y'all most need to know today. Y'all may still be seeing familiar relational patterns show up around y'all. And I do understand why that feels exhausting. Because sometimes we think healing means the pattern is never going to appear again. But sometimes healing looks much different than that. Sometimes the pattern appears. And when it does, y'all recognize it faster. Y'all will start participating for less time. Y'all will abandon yourselves less, and y'all will stop negotiating with things that compromises your all sense of security. Y'all will stop trying to turn inauthentic relationships into authentic ones. And eventually the pattern reaches a version of y'all that simply will not play the old role anymore. And that is when the structure changes. And I think that is the very milestone sitting in this Six of Wands. I'm getting y'all may not have figured out how to prevent every old pattern from showing up, but y'all are learning how to stop participating once y'all recognize it. And that is really big because y'all walked away. Y'all created the space for abundance. And because y'all did what y'all were supposed to do, now something brand new can begin coming into frame. Because the old version of the pattern, that cannot keep running. And the version of y'all that sustained it, that version is no longer available. And that's the proof that the pattern can't remain. And that's the message that I have for y'all today. So if this one landed, then like my message. Leave me a comment and let me know. And if you made it to the end, I want to know too. And make sure y'all are following along. And mostly remember, where there's love, there is light. I'll see y'all again real soon.